All right. Hey. Shouts out to everybody who is tuning in, man. We are back once again with another video. Conscious Approach on YouTube, JV Wins, Dogon SS. Thanks to everybody out there for watching. Thanks to everybody out there who's been hitting that subscribe button, paying attention to the videos, engaging with the content. We certainly appreciate it. We crossed a bit of a milestone this week. We hit 600 subscribers, which right. Which, of course, in the grand scheme of the internet, is not a big deal. We know this. But for a homegrown channel such as ourselves, with no money being pumped into any advertisers or SEO efforts yet, pretty proud of the accomplishment. So, to everybody who has hit that subscribe button, thank you very much. And to everybody in the future who will hit it, welcome aboard. We do this each and every week. We put these videos out each and every day, and we certainly like doing so. So, continue to join us along for the ride. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have an interesting series of topics to get into tonight. Looking forward to hearing what Dogon has to say about these topics. Looking forward to hearing what the community has to say as well. So go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. But first up, we are going to go ahead and get started talking about comments made by Gilbert Arenas, former NBA player Gilbert Arenas, former great, I would add, NBA player Gilbert Arenas. So very much in the same mold as Shannon Sharp. You know, Shannon Sharp has Club Shay Shay, which is his daytime podcast, if you will. And then he has Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, where they talk about things outside of, well, Shay Shay doesn't do just sports on, Shannon Sharp doesn't do just sports on Club Shay Shay, but they talk about more non work friendly topics on Nightcap with with Chad Johnson. And Gilbert Arenas is kind of doing the same thing. He's got Gil's Arena, which primarily gets into sports, mainly the NBA. And then he also has No Chill Gil, which is where he gets into the after dark topics that he wants to talk about, that he doesn't have enough time to get into on Gil's Arena. And on a recent episode of No Chill with Gilbert Arenas, he basically got on to the subject of women, and he essentially gave women the blueprint for how they should treat their themselves as a business, how to come up on these NBA players out here, how to get a bag, right? Now, this obviously is a topic that is consistent with the things that we like to talk about on this channel, which is why I wanted to broach it, because I think this may be the first time ever that we have somebody who's literally just kind of laying out the blueprint, if you will, for the route that a woman can take to be able to secure these ends. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this entire clip. It's a bit lengthy. It's about 4.5 minutes long, but I really do think you gotta, I really do kind of think you gotta watch the whole thing in order to get the full scope of what we're dealing with out here in these streets. Um, and then, of course, we will give our opinions on this once the video has completed playing. I do not want to preview what I have to say about this, but we'll go ahead and play the full clip here. So bear with us. But I do think that you have to kind of watch the whole thing in order to get a decent idea of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, like, grab your popcorn, y'all. Grab your popcorn.
I don't know the young one. You know famous girls now?
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose.
She'll be a 250.
Yeah, for sure back then.
She'll be a 250.
So
that's a 250.
Back then, but now
so she'll be 1,000.
She'll be 1,000.
Maybe 1,000, 2,500.
No, more than $1,000.
No. So So like just a normal price. Yeah. Just boom. Then what ends up happening is she'll meet we call them cornball nigga who'll be like, oh, I get you a Birkin and boom, and then boost her price up. Because NBA player, we'll pay whatever for the first night.
Yeah.
So she gotta ask for the bag on the first night, and then she might get it.
Then she'll get it. No, she gonna get it, but she might lose. Listen, here I'm gonna tell you. For all my
paying so much money, just
we got it. We don't give a fuck. So look, I didn't mean it. We don't give a fuck. Listen, for all my future 304s, and this is gonna sound, but I'm just gonna put you on game. All right, let's say, how many dudes? What's the average?
A Birkin, not a Birkin. The first.
No, what is the average? What is the average girls per year? Like, how many dudes have you slept with 1 year?
Gil ain't gonna buy a Birkin the first night. Don't let Gil lie to you. Well, he might, because Gil he had the 100.
So 2, 3. So the average. No, what's the average? Like a girl to fuck a dude. Like, how many dudes did she fuck in 1 year?
It depends
Like 3?
where the money at.
4.
Gil got
all right, so
100.
let's just say 4. So if you fucking 4 dudes a year or 3 dudes a year, I'm telling you, from the ages of probably 18 to 35, treat it like a business. Get you some NBA players. Let them 3 NBA players. Think about it. The NBA player on the lowest end, on the brokest nigga in the NBA, he gonna pay you about $5,000 a month just to fuck with you. $5,000 a month. So if you got 3 of them, that's $15,000 a month just on the bottom end. Now you talking about you got like a James Harden, a motherfucker, Paul George or something, or me.
Gills,
You talking about just on fucking around with you? You talking about 10, 20 grand a month just to be cool. And you might have to sleep with dude maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, right? With those dudes, 3 times a month, depending. You making 60 grand a month. What job, what education you gonna get from the ages of 20 to 35 that's gonna pay you 60 grand a month?
That's not realistic.
Like, what the fuck?
That's not
What?
That's a job. Like,
What's gonna pay you 60 grand a month?
If she find a Gil, she gonna hold on to that Gil.
No, but if she find a Gil or think about it, because we don't know who else she messing with, because we don't. Our web is
them types.
So them types. I'm talking about if you're gonna be. That's why I said 304s. You're gonna be a 304, and you got you 3. If you got 3 max players, you're talking about they'll pay you 20 grand a month just to chill. Remember Zion was paying old shorty 20 grand a month.
Sure.
So she got 2 more like that. That's 60 grand a month to do nothing. Just go over there and chill with the niggas whenever, go in town, and none of them really know each other. See what? That's what I'm saying. What occupation that you got from the ages of 20 to 35, you gonna make that kind of money. You do that, bank up till you 35. Like some of these girls are touching $1 million a year, ain't got $5,000 in their bank account. They got a closet full of Birkin bags, red bottoms, ain't got shit to show for. And they touched $1 million that month or that year. Treat it like a job. I'm trying to tell y'all for the future. For the girl. Because the reason we're gonna pay, we're paying. Like the reason we deal with hoes is we're paying them leave. They don't say nothing. They keep saying we don't care if they fucking with 2, 3 dudes. They not telling on nobody. So if we got a girl, shoot, she's cool. We can show up. She can show up anytime. She ain't never gonna out us.
Those are the best.
Those are the best.
Those are the best.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you.
And they
if them girls
won't put you out there, just
if a girl that I used to mess with, like down 10 years, never said a word, she'd be like, yeah, I'm in trouble right now. I need about 10 grand. No questions. There you go.
Wow. Okay, so I don't think that we've ever, played any contextual video that really gets into the meat and potatoes of how this all works, more so than this. But he basically laid it out. He says between the ages of 18 and 35, you should treat your body like a business. Get you a team of 3 NBA players that you're dealing with at one time. And, basically you can extract about 20K out of them and make a lucrative business out of it so that you can be somebody who's making about $60,000 a month just because you are in the company of these guys. And they'll pay it because they don't care, essentially is what he's saying. They'll pay it because they don't care. And it's not a headache or a hassle. I beg to differ about how much of a non-hassle or headache it is, but this is what he's saying. That is literally a rubric for how to be able to make this happen. And it seems to be something that we're all kind of accepting as this is the way things go now. So, um, what do you make of his plan there? 60 racks a month. And why wouldn't you do that? Because you're certainly not going to be able to get a job getting paid that much, right? So you should take this route, treat it like a business, according to Gil.
This is rough. Um, this is rough. This is definitely NBA lifestyle logic. I appreciate his candid way of explaining this, especially the part where it's just like, bro, we don't care. Basically, looking at it like going to get a value meal. So, because we look at it like, oh, hey, 5 bands for what? You know what I'm saying? I'll be getting that for free. But again, I guess they're looking at those 5 bands like no different than you don't want to go to the fast food place, the Chick-fil-A's or whatever, and ordering a number or whatever. You feel a little guilty about it. You feel like you overpaid a little bit, but is it going to hurt your wallet? Is it going to really hurt your bottom line? Not really, especially if you're a check to checker. So these guys here, they look at it as spoils for their lucrative incomes and their lifestyles. So I can see that angle of it, especially the aspect of paying for them to just get out of your face. Now, if that costs 5 bands, I got to get my racks up uh, because there's some conversations I choose to not have or certain things I choose to not deal with. And if that's the going rate, then yeah, man, might want to get my guap up. But all jokes aside, um, I feel as though, yes, for the NBA players, I'll speak on. Yes, I get where they're coming from. It makes sense in that world, especially when I was a young man. Don't know what I would have done with 2 million guaranteed and an exposure to a pipeline of thoughts. I don't know how that would go, especially the first time around that I did it. So I really can't necessarily fault them for the culture that they grew up in, because again, bro, this is the last thing I'll say before I let you go. If you don't have a foundation about yourself, if you don't have a sense of identity and culture for yourself, you're bound to fall by the wayside or get caught up in the wave of whatever wave is being advertised. I think for these young men and anybody that partakes in this lifestyle, it's a reflection of the lack of having an identity, sense of self pride and self worth, which eventually leads to, hey, I'll just do whatever. Hit the league. Everybody else around here talking, doing this or whatever, whatever. Um, you got that first fellatio, and you see what everybody's talking about. So, what are your thoughts, sir? How do you feel about, or what are your thoughts on Gil explaining the underworld lifestyle going on with ball players and his advice towards ladies to get the bag?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to choose to place my emphasis. This this video perfectly exemplifies what you often talk about, which is the transactional nature of relationships. Uh, because if this was if this was a societal observation that I thought was exclusively limited to professional athletes, specifically NBA players, in the case of this particular topic, I wouldn't care because I know that at that level things are just done unconventionally. I understand that. Um, and so it's not really a big deal to me because people do crazy. Like, I can't comprehend what it's like to make a woman who I'm dating sign a non-disclosure agreement, or make a woman who I'm having sex with sign a non-disclosure agreement. That's what people in those realms have to deal with on a regular basis. I don't comprehend that because it's not my reality, so I can't speak on it. But what I will say is there are several themes on this channel that I touch on throughout the various topics that we talk about. Like, what do I talk about? I talk about echo chambers. I talk about like musical journalistic integrity, right? I bring up certain things with my commentary on this channel often. One of the things that I bring up a lot on this channel, one of my common themes is my belief in what I call the trickle down effect. Um, and the trickle down effect for me basically means that as fantastical and non-realistic as it may seem for a particular type of thought process or behavior to become normal because you think something like that is so far removed from the general population, only the one percenters have to deal with that. So, you know, this is not something that is actually going to become widespread because only a minute percentage of the population are dealing with this, or it's only a small percentage of the population to whom this kind of thing applies. There are certain things that I do believe eventually, over time, due to the normalization of the behavior, trickle down to the rest of the population. So it's easy for us to sit up here and talk about how transactional relationships have become at the professional athlete level because, yeah, once again, we're dealing with top 10 percenters, top one percenters. They live a different reality. They have to deal with things that we don't comprehend. But at a certain point, the content, like the consumption of content like this over an extended period of time on a regular enough basis is going to cause a trickle down effect in which it's no longer going to be a select group of people doing this. It's going to be everyone who is doing this. And that's the part about this conversation that I think is pretty wild because I believe that over time, relationships and non-platonic sexual relationships between men and women being a normal thing in terms of its transactional nature aren't going to be limited just to pro athletes or famous people or wealthy people or top one percenters or top 10 percenters. It's going to be something that eventually matriculates down to the point where it's just a reality for everybody. And I think that it's not just the top of the IG model pile that's living this kind of lifestyle. I think that you have everyday, well, not right, not yet, perhaps. But I think over time you're going to have, if we aren't inching closer to that already, you're going to have the generation coming up, these Gen Zers, even some of the millennials on the younger side, and of course, these subsequent generations after that. These women who are going to forego traditional forms of income and contributing to society and learning things and working in the traditional sense. And they're going to pick up on trends like this as a very viable means by which they can, secure a livelihood for themselves. And eventually, all relationships are going to be transactional, not just the ones being sought after by pro athletes and famous people. Because I see microcosmic instances of this playing out already, where you have girls who are in college who are holding it out for the guy who's the D1 scholarship athlete at your university. My point is, we are getting to a point where it's all going to be a matter of transaction, and it isn't going to be just a small percentage of the population. And I think for him to be able to lay it out so eloquently and so easily and cleanly suggests to me that this is something that probably goes on more than people who are in regular average world understand, and is inching closer and closer to becoming a more um, typical reality for all of us out here. Whether you're in that celebrity world, that famous people world, that pro athlete world, or not, um, we are seeing more and more of these small time micro celebrity chicks, women who are going into the gym with their tripods and they're recording their videos. They're getting their bodies right because they are looking to capture the big fish. And these aren't chicks who are trying to be rappers or entertainers or professional models. They're just women with cute face and a nice body who know that they can garner whatever attention that they're looking for online because this is the environment that we're cultivating. So this to me is an instance of what I foresee being um, transactional relationships trickle down into the rest of the population over the course of an extended period of time, particularly when content like this becomes more readily consumable by everyday people.
Yeah, I mean, I already think we're there. I already, I really feel like people aren't, if people aren't already there in their minds, especially men, in the aspect of what your job is to do, and right now it's to provide, protect too, for sure, but provide generally comes first. And if you don't got the bag, bro, you can't talk, you can't put your foot down, you can't do anything. You can have the most logical rules, the most logical boundaries. If you broke, they don't matter. So we're already there. So I think the part where so to touch on what Gil's advice to women is, um, the part about this that's dangerous that I didn't want to give any oxygen to is they're already doing it for free. So if you're gonna be giving up bodies at the local frat party for free, you might as well be giving that up for 30 racks a month. And it's only three dudes. You had three dudes in one room that night for free. If you span those three dudes out for a month, he even said it. Some of these guys just want to hang out with you. You know what I'm saying? So now we probably got our D Wades out there that want you to get a little funky with them with toys
No.
and stuff. You probably got that. But I would say for the most part, you got some regular everyday guys that just trying to bust nuts. And again, you're already doing it for free. So I see what his logic is. It's dangerous. It's dangerous rhetoric. We don't need underworld stuff being it's underworld for a reason. People don't know about this stuff because, well, it's going on in a particular sector of the population. When
And
you start, Mhm,
that's my point, not to cut
mhm,
you off, is it isn't underworld anymore.
yeah,
It's everyday world.
well,
Yeah.
well, it's been going on. It's still like a taboo. It's like you don't say this, and for him to put oxygen into this situation, that's the part about it I feel is just dangerous because a few light bulbs probably don't went off in a few of these scandalous women's minds. But honestly, if they were already scandalous and on a spectrum anyway. So what's one more step? But
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, man. Now more than ever, having yourself a down to earth, wholesome woman is one of the most precious things you can have. And if she's out here bumping Sexy Red and Suki Hana, I suggest you guys run for the hills. And I would say that Gilbert Arenas, he had himself a valid point there. His whole diatribe, him and Nick, boy, that boy, Swaggy P,
Yeah.
he's a crazy dude. Both of those guys are goofballs. But hey, man, valid points from their side. Unfortunately, it's a bar. So yeah, that's my thoughts, man.
Yeah, the practicality inherent in his talking points aren't completely nonsensical. I guess it's just disturbing that because you talk about like the underworld or underbelly, you know what I'm saying? It's still taboo. We're not supposed to. I don't really think that there's a, like deconstruction. That's another one of my common themes, right? This is another thing that we're deconstructing. As a matter of fact, I think this is one of the ones that have already been completely deconstructed,
Yeah, we're already
where it's
there.
like it's just completely understood. Like, ladies, just go after the bag because there's no lack of decency that is being accorded to that approach anymore. So like you can say, like he said 504, right? Which, for anybody who doesn't know, 504 is a euphemism for
304.
hoe.
Yes, sir.
304, sorry, not I was thinking about the area code. 304 is a 304 is a euphemism for hoe. So meaning, like, if you type 304, write it out, and then turn the letters upside down
Beeper
and
style.
inverse them, it looks like the word hoe, which is why he was saying that. But the thing about it is, we're no longer reserving this to what we would classically identify as hoes do this. This is just like women do this. This is just a part of women doing this. And I know that that's a generalization. I know we still got a lot of women out here who don't live by this creed. But my point with this is there's a growing faction of women who do live by this creed. And it becomes easier to adopt that kind of lifestyle when you know that said taboo, said social stigma no longer gets attached to it. Because this is just a part now of our ethos as a society. It's to just go for the bag. So that's the part about it that is frightening to me, is that it's just all becoming transactional. And I've said before, I've never had an issue with like the um the interpretation, or rather the invocation of like things like hypergamy. Those things have never really bothered me. I've always said, like, I don't think it makes sense for a woman to make herself available to men who cannot provide in the way that she feels as though she needs to be provided for. Basic means, right? Like, don't get with a guy who doesn't have a roof over his head. That to me is understandable. Don't get with a guy who does not have his own transportation. That to me is understandable. Don't get with a guy long term who has whose credit is in shambles. That to me is understandable. But I think we've like swung the pendulum so far in the opposite direction, where we are now looking at these types of talking points and extrapolating it to the rest of the general population. And now what we are seeing is, you know, guy who can do all of those things is still being looked upon as broke. So, guy who has his own house, or maybe he has his own apartment and can comfortably afford these things, guy whose credit is not in shambles, guy who can get whatever loan he needs, or guy who has his own reliable transportation. Now we are looking at even guys who can do those things, who fit that build. And we're saying, where are you along the line of that? Oh, you're still broke even if you can do that stuff. And I think that the mentality that comes along with looking at even that as broke is aided by or contributed by talking points like this. Again, not that Gilbert Arenas is wrong necessarily, because he can only speak to what his reality is. So if this is what's going on in those circles, can't knock it. It is what it is. But it's the frequent consumption of those kind of talking points that sort of contributes to what I will call hypergamy, where you have a lot of where there's this idea now percolating throughout the current society, where, you know, flatly now what we're saying is, hey man, you got to be a guy out here who's making over six figures a year to even cut it. I think that that's a bit unreasonable, but that's kind of where we are now. And I think that this kind of commentary contributes to that kind of mindset. There's reasonable and then there's unreasonable. And I think that this contributes to the unreasonable side of this. And the unreasonable side of this is what leads to these things becoming entirely transactional, which, to your point, if this is the world we are in which everything is entirely transactional, it does become incumbent upon everyday men everywhere to understand the importance of identifying the right kind of women to keep around you, lest you find yourself having to choose from women like this, which, you know, I guess is where we're at, as you like to say. So, you know, it is what it is.
My parting words is get your money up, guys. Just get your money up, just for yourself, just for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just get your money up, because obviously out here you got to pay the cost in many ways if you're just trying to chill. And yeah, man, just get your money straight. And when it comes to your peace of mind, bro, invest energy there into your peace of mind. And that way it's building up an insurance policy on foolishness and fuckery. um if you got blindsided later on in your life from this woman that was whoop de whoop, the investment within your peace of mind, regardless of win, lose, or draw with that, with your cash, with everything, you still built yourself up to where you know how to get money. You know, even if like, insure your life, man. Get yourself together, because right now the game the game is moving so fast. The women are moving with it because there's like how they said there's so many suckers out here ruining the game. You know, these guys are paying, 1,000 to get in, get in the door, and then here comes Birkin guy and inflating the market. So all of this stuff going up, with all of this stuff going up around you, and you staying solid, the best way that you can make sure that you keep your head above water is invest in yourself, man, and invest in your peace of mind. Because I swear, one of these, harlots will try to snatch it from you, man.
Essentially what you're saying is invest in yourself so that you can afford to deal with this, which I think
No,
is
not afford, not afford. Listen, this is going on. Period. So
I know.
so it's not just, it's not like the extreme version of it, because we see regular everyday cases where a man is right now in a bar with his head on the thing talking to the bartender because his wife just did him dirt. And so my thing is if that guy, not even these dudes, but even that guy, just invest in yourself from anybody. And this is from a woman, anybody, family members. Invest in your peace of mind with your energy and not allowing other people to use yours. So get yourselves right, man. Stay solid and get to the back. Because I know you want to ball.
Yeah. That's certainly easier said than done. Unfortunately, not that you're wrong, but I think the name of the game now is it's an arms race. It's so funny. I really don't want to continue because we've already gone long enough, but it's so funny. I talked last week about I personally divested from modern relationship commentary content on the internet because it was giving me a sense of myopathy. It started to make me think that all women were like this, and so I had to back away from that. But be nevertheless, I've had my fair share of personal experiences where it became very clear to me that the only reason why I cannot pass go in this particular scenario is because of my particular tax bracket. And, you know, I hear what you're saying, and it's definitely true. I just think that it's unfortunate because said guy who's investing in himself, as you so eloquently put it, he's motivated to invest in himself so that he can best position himself to afford to play in this sandbox.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can play in this sandbox now is if you basically relent and decide that you are going to commit yourself to this arms race for money and resources. It is what it is. I personally think that that's a bit unfortunate, albeit it is the reality. But I think that when you see commentary like this, it makes it very clear and apparent the direction that we are moving in. So wholesome women, the value of them is rising, but while the value of a wholesome woman is rising, the sheer number or amount of them, in my opinion, appears to be dwindling. So you're gonna have to figure out where you lie in that dynamic and strike the best balance possible for yourself. Shouts out to Gil though.
Agree. Agree.
Yeah.
My goodness, bro. Keep your mouth shut. We do not need everybody knowing this stuff.